everyone. Welcome to this series of interviews of Cyen with cybersecurity experts. Today we have a Bulgarian connection. We have Peter Kirkov, who is the Bulgarian cybersecurity coordinator. He holds different positions in the government, and he is the person to speak about cybersecurity in Bulgaria. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Peter, what we see is that cybersecurity is becoming a top priority for everyone, but it becomes for a good reason, because we have cybersecurity issues. We see cybersecurity incidents in the press, in the sectors, in economy, but also governments are target to cyber attacks. What is your assessment of the overall level of cybersecurity in Bulgaria compared to other EU countries, for instance?
Well, the way I see it, all those cyber attacks are actually the growing pains of digitalization, because we are constantly moving towards digitalization. We digitize more and more aspects of society. And as a result, as we call it in cybersecurity, we have bigger surface of attack for different kinds of attacks. So this is normal, and this is how it's supposed to be, with more and more digitalization going forward. And the question about how are we compared to other countries is very interesting, because it's I cannot answer. And I cannot answer not because it's classified, but because in certain measures we are a little bit ahead, in certain measures we are a little bit behind. And that goes with a lot of culture. There are specifics in our cultures, there are specifics in politics, there are specifics in technology advancement, because sometimes if we start, because we are starting digitalization from several steps behind some other countries, we have a chance building that digitalization to take into account all the attacks, all the knowledge that is already out there, and actually in very economically effective way to achieve much better cybersecurity than our counterpart in other parts of Europe. But in general, the great equalizer is the EU regulations. And recently there was a new NIS directive, NIS2, that actually aims to exactly to address the minimum level of cybersecurity needed in several sectors, which actually is supposed to be the great equalizer to but okay, it's great equalizer, but from the bottom part. So we're talking about minimal requirements, so not about the super duper high security stuff.
This is the hope, at least, that whoever is higher than that, they could go and continue to improve their cybersecurity, not waiting for the other EU member states to catch up. Because indeed, we have to help each other, we have to drag each other up, not down.
And not only, and by the way, we're not talking about only EU. We are also talking about neighboring countries, because a chain is as strong as the weakest link, right? So if there is a cyber attack or cyber crisis in neighboring country, for example, it will affect us. So we have to establish even links, and we have to help even not only other EU member states, but we have to help also countries that are neighboring or linked to EU. And by the way, there is a lot of work in that direction. There are a lot of discussions, and already there are cases where EU member states can help each other, including with I don't want to use the term boots on the ground, but actual people that come to the country and do work and help. There were a number of cases like this, and now in NIS2 there is the Cyclone network, which help us react much faster to cyber crisis, because the problem is that cyber usually moves a lot faster than the normal, even in crisis. So we have to have a much faster mechanism in order to activate this EU level of help or support in different meanings of that word.
Was that an instrument already in place that was used, or it's something you would develop in the future?
Cycle network was in place. It was working. It is working. Sorry, but NIS2 gave it a much more how to say substance, legal background, and link it to the rest of the mechanism.
I see. But this all, speaking about cyber crisis, speaking about supporting neighboring countries and the impact they have on us, I could not ask you for the war in Ukraine situation. Does it have impact on the cybersecurity of Bulgaria? Do you see any threats, any analysis? You have seen in our YouTube channel multiple interviews on the topic. Maybe we could see the Bulgarian perspective in that.
Our perspective is, despite that we don't have a significant increase in number of cyber attacks, we see change of the structure. So we see much more cyber attacks that are political motivated, not financially motivated as it was before. Now we see the same tools, techniques, and procedures that are used to achieve political objectives, not financial one. There are a number of high-profile attacks that were aimed exactly at destabilizing, at influencing Bulgarian politics, etc., etc. So yeah, this is the change that we see. Not significant increase of number of attacks, but definite increase in number of attacks that aim at political goals, including low technology attacks such as DDoS. Starting even from the last year, the national census was under significant DDoS attack, and practically on every election. And as you know, we had a number of elections in the past year and this as well. Practically with every election campaign, we know that there are going to be DDoS attacks. Sometimes they are much more manageable, sometimes they are a little bit more significant, but they are tools to achieve a political objective.
This is a very important point, which obviously draws very good conclusion for the EU level. We are going to have elections in 2024 at the EU level for the European Parliament, and we have seen already last year significant incidents. So again, DDoS taking down basically the website of the European Parliament. Perhaps back then we linked this again to political motivation, but maybe in the near future we would see more and more those targeted to the specific election campaign. Something that we have to maybe exchange experience to see, because technique is used, whether it's in Bulgaria, in Ukraine, or in Africa, it's different purpose, but the techniques usually are the same, so we can learn from each other. And do you also have these forums of exchange with your European counterparts, or maybe neighboring countries, where you could exchange best practices and lessons learned?
Yep, there are two international networks. One I already mentioned, it's on more political level, so Cyen. And of course, there is and this is again something that it's much straightened and a lot of attention is in NIS2, so-called EU CSIRT network. So basically, in every country, there is a national CSIRT team, which is tautology. I'm sorry, it's team, the CSIRT is team. So CSIRT team is, yeah. but it rolls much easier from the tongue. So the CSIRT network, actually in every country there is a national team which works and collects from the sectorial ones, number of sectorial ones. And on EU level, there is a network that meets regularly. We have our own communication channels, and basically this is what acts as immune system for the whole Europe. Because a certain type of attack or certain malware, when it's observed for the first time, when it's analyzed for the first time, it's very quickly shared through the network. And this information is available to everybody, which means that we can take measures to protect our constituents, our country, against this type of attack. There is also a lot of work being done how we can speed up that process, because in more and more countries they are building national SOCs, and right now there are even pilot projects for okay, how a transnational SOC would look like, how we can on this operational near real-time level, how we can exchange operational information that will allow us to act very, very quickly as one organism against cyber attacks. And it's a very interesting question. A lot of the challenges there are not technological, but they are legal. What information can we share? At what level? Should we control who has access to that information? Etc., etc. So it's a very interesting times ahead. We're integrating more and more within Europe in terms of cybersecurity, because it's so prevalent. Basically, everybody needs cybersecurity, and our economies are so connected that if there is a significant issue in one, it will propagate in other sectors, in other countries. It makes sense for us to cooperate. And we see this change even with the military. They come to understand that there is no such thing as military cybersecurity and civil cybersecurity. It's all one cybersecurity. So right now we are exchanging more and more information on just operational technology on different levels. So yeah, there is. I would say there is a strong community and strong communication in that goes to in cybersecurity in Europe. Of course, it always could be better, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
I have a couple of ideas myself, but we can discuss this after. Around, you mentioned the military, we speak about national security, obviously, when we speak about elections, about big infrastructure, but we should not forget there are also small companies. I am a startup myself. I know all the challenges we have to face. I have family with a small restaurant. They have to also think about cybersecurity. We also have to equip them to be prepared to live this digital revolution. But there are probably the piece of legislation, at least at the EU level, that brings the most added value today for the cybersecurity, both at the highest level with the critical infrastructure, but also starting to have impact on the small companies. This is the NIS, Network Information Security Directive, and we recently had a revision of this directive with my colleague Eva Cyen. We had a video where we present all the key aspects of the directive. What is it? What implications, and also what tools are there for SMEs? But this directive has to be transposed now in every member state, taking the objectives of the directive, translating it in national law. And there is the key. Some countries might take this opportunity to reinforce or to weaken the objectives. This is work in progress. All across Europe, we had a video recently in Belgium. We had an update. What is the update and situation in Bulgaria?
Well, we're currently working on building that transposing of the NIS2 directive into Bulgarian cybersecurity law, as in the same way as the previous NIS directive was transposed in the cybersecurity law. We have a good traditions in this. I would say that our legislation is at very good level. The amount of requirements are well balanced. The way it was they were applied are also at a good level. I will give you an example. In NIS directive, the state administration was excluded as a sector. In Bulgarian cybersecurity law, it was actually included. So for us now in NIS2, the state administration is included, but we are already there. So we already applied those requirements. And I would say that first NIS2 directive, as well as NIS is minimal requirement. So it is the bottom level. You shouldn't go below this level. So this is the minimum requirements you should meet. But also in NIS there is size cap. So especially for small and medium enterprises, startups as yourself, it is not applicable because the biggest risk there is over-regulating. And being on the regulator side, this is something that one should be very well concerned, because with over-regulation, it's as easy to kill a business as to support it. But it's not only NIS2 regulation, actually, because it NIS2 stipulates, okay, requirements, what cybersecurity requirements should be there. There are also other mechanisms in Europe that are aimed. Actually, there is a package of 4 regulations that are related to cybersecurity, and it all started with one about the cybersecurity certification. So voluntary cybersecurity certification, we are very near to the point where NISA will publish 3 schemes for certification. We're waiting any moment now. So we'll start actually issuing certificates valid to whole Europe, recognized in whole Europe, which means that they will be recognized in other parts of the world as well. This is how it works. On products, on services, and probably quite soon even on knowledge. ENISA also published a very nice cybersecurity competence framework that actually tries to straighten to all these domains of knowledge, all these profession and roles. So it's very, very possible that soon we'll have even skill certification. There is another regulation that actually created a new European agency, European Cybersecurity Competence Center, and located in Bucharest. For the first time, such EU agency was located in Eastern Europe, which is great success. And this agency actually approaches cybersecurity from the other end, from the projects and the budget side, because every project, every cybersecurity measure should be supported by funding. So ECCC, this is exactly the function that this organization will have. It has its network of national coordination units in every member state, and actually it supports academia, small and medium enterprises, all kinds of organizations to participate in EU-wide projects, to facilitate exchange of information, to facilitate building up the cybersecurity, inventing and innovation in cybersecurity field. So this is something that it's much more positive looking at this. Of course, we discussed the NIS2 directive that was accepted on 14th of December. So now technically we have 21 months to transpone it, but the way it will happen in Bulgaria, it's there are going to be working groups that are actually creating the text, and this text of the law should pass through the parliament. There should be public discussion, and then it should go to parliament. This is how it's structured in Bulgaria.
Okay. How far we are to having this final text out for discussion?
This is a very good question. Not nearly close enough as I would like. There is quite complex directive, and again, it's a major issue because all the implications and all the linkages to critical infrastructure, to other regulations, including both on EU level and on national level. There is a lot of work to be done in order to have the best possible text, the best project that we have that we can propose to the parliament.
So if I understand correctly, the challenges are more legal, how to make the connections and formalities.
It's not only, it's actually perfect mixture between legal and cyber and IT and cybersecurity. Okay. And as you know, it's very hard to have a person that it's both legal, IT, and cybersecurity. So there is a lot of discussion, a lot of work, a lot of communication between the different stakeholders in this. But yes, we're working on this. I mean, it's for us, it's continuation of our work because we were actively involved in NIS2, the way it was proposed, it was discussed at youth level. So we put a lot of work in that. And now we are actually continuing this work at national level, but we still keep in contact with the rest of the member states because there is always something new to be learned. You mentioned the different approaches that different member states took, and now being NIS2, it's very interesting to see what worked in the past, what worked best, what didn't work. So in sort to take the best approaches, the best things that were implemented and implement it now, because this is the essence of cybersecurity, right? This is our main paradigm. Turn the cycle, continue to adapt, learn from what happened, analyze it, implement it, right?
Indeed, yes, and this is also the continuation. As you said, this is a good way to look at it. Cybersecurity is not an endpoint, it is a journey. Yeah. Just very short question, 2 questions. First, we have new sectors of NIS2. Do they have huge impact for Bulgaria? I'm thinking manufacturing, traditionally, yeah, very strongly applied. You said governance sector was already
governance sector is already included in our law, so no impact there practically. But manufacturing, I mean, with sectors coming from 7 to 17, it's actually pretty huge impact. And this is the reflection of how far digitalization went. Now, almost any manufacturing has its own systems. A lot of them have SCADA systems. A lot of them have IoTs is being implemented more and more. We're talking about smart waterfall meters. We're talking about smart cities, etc., etc. All this technology, it has to be secured in some way. So this is the actual the reflection, and in this way, EU on regulation aspect. We are quite far ahead from practically in the world. We are leading in terms of regulations in field of cybersecurity, which is a very good thing.
It is a very good thing. We're good students. We did our homework, but now we have to apply it, and it has to also. Cybersecurity often is about restraining. You spoke about immune system. I really liked it. The CSIRT being the immune system of Europe for cybersecurity. The immune system typically fights bacteria, but we also have to be more like women. We have to be dual use. We have to kill the bacteria and the disease and the foreign bodies, but we also have to grow babies. We have to give birth to something new. And this is where we look at SMEs, startups, companies. We have to support them to take cybersecurity as their competitive advantage, to use it and to grow with it. If you have 2 words, I heard the ECCC has a very strong mandate to support startups, SMEs, or in general projects. What other tools in Bulgaria we have to support cybersecurity for?
There are a number of initiatives. For example, last year, together with the Ministry of Innovation and Growth, we supported them for shaping a program that directly funded cybersecurity and digitalization for small and medium companies. And this is just one example of the multiple tools that there are to support small and medium business. And because this is the backbone of economy, this is the backbone of innovation, this is something that should be protected and grown. And of course, my primary view is do not over-regulate that sector, but there are a number of initiatives in the cybersecurity field that are actually supporting, growing, providing information, providing funds to SMEs in order to enable them to function properly in this challenging world.
And something else Bulgaria has given to the world is a lot of cybersecurity experts, a lot of IT experts as well. Here we sit together, we have a whole team and network of people engaged in the field. So luckily and hopefully we'll be able to employ these resources to contribute to a better cybersecurity globally. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.